The musicians playing with me tonight, I have Simon Martinez on guitar, Jonathan Smith on bass, and Rashid Williams on drums. Simon Martinez I met when he was a student at UArts. He's around 19 years old, I think, when I met him, but he also performed with me as a part of my Kimmel Center Jazz Composer Residency. Same as with John. I've known John much longer. I met him originally at Zanzibar Blue back in the day when Eric Wortham used to have a jam session there with Lauren Talese and others. And John and I have been playing lots of gigs since then, but he also joined me for the Kimmel Center Jazz Composer Residency. And Rashid Williams is a drummer I've known for a long time. Again, going back to Zanzibar Blues when I met him, but we currently tour together with John Legend. And so I decided to have him come along for this performance here tonight. I started writing music when I was in high school. I didn't get serious about it until after college. I went to go work on cruise ships after college, and when I was out there, I got really into learning how to use Logic Audio on my laptop. And my goal out there was not to write jazz songs, but I was making electronic music, specifically drum and bass and jungle, which kind of ties in my Kimmel Center residency. But out of that, when I enjoyed making electronic music, but when I moved to Philadelphia, I transferred more into starting to write jazz compositions. And that culminated in my first record, and then my second record, and then everything I do with the Kimmel residency, and I'm still continuing, to write always. We're doing a brand new song, first time performance tonight as well. I think that definitely the electronic music influence is a big part of my composition style. If I'm looking at jazz composers, though, I do tend to like people that compose simpler material. I'm not really into the heavily arranged compositions. So I think about Kenny Garrett. As a saxophonist, he's a huge influence, but also as a composer. Everyone knows Wayne's Thing. It's a song you can call it any jam session anywhere across the world. Joshua Redman's like that. Writes a lot of just great melodies, great songs. Obviously, Miles Davis was great with that. Current trumpet player Roy Hargrove, just writes one song after another that people just like to play and have fun playing. And it's always fun to be at a jam session anywhere in the country, around the world, and people know these songs. It feels like home. I can't tell you how many times I've been overseas and go out to meet some local musicians, and they call songs that are Philly songs. Like, I associate them with Philly. Either they're from Philly artists, or they're just songs that we play on the Philly jam session scene. I wrote BYOB in 2009, maybe. It was a song where I wrote it like in a day. And I remember my roommate at the time was a guy, Zach Lampron. And I remember him, I'd been working on it all day, and he was home from work, and I remember him whistling it after I was done working on it for the day. And it almost became like a theme song between us, because he would just start singing it when he saw me. And so I knew I was onto something. That's always a good, it's always good when someone is, like singing something back to you, it sticks in their head. It's called BYOB, which was Bring Your Own B. I never specified what the B stood for. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. A lot of my stuff is tongue-in-cheek. But what I was thinking about when I wrote that song was just kind of like, where I'm at right now, what kind of sound do I want to present? What am I currently influenced by? And at that point, it's sort of a pocket type song. It's a little bit funk, but it's sort of got this modern jazz thing to it. But it's just a sort of fun, simple, playful song. Maybe the melody almost sounds like a nursery rhyme or something like that. It's nothing too complicated. But it's a lot of fun to play, and it's, again, one of these compositions where it can be played a lot of different ways. So the way that we're going to play it tonight is much different feel-wise from the way it was on my album Prehumus when it was recorded 7 years ago. Sometimes it comes from practice, but where I get ideas for compositions, it does come from practice sometimes. Something will happen while I'm playing, or a melody. I used to just sing. I had this technique of singing into a microphone. I would just get an idea, maybe write like a little drum pattern, and I would just start singing ideas. And I'm not a good singer, but this is what I would do. And then I would transcribe the parts that I liked. So it was just kind of like, it would kind of be like slowly building out a groove, which was, I think stems from my electronic music days. It's like you get a drum pattern going, you maybe get a bass line you like, you maybe figure out some chord changes that work with that. And then I just started singing some melodic ideas. Because something I noticed is I didn't want my brain, my theoretical training telling my ear what to do. So if I tried to do it on my saxophone, I'd probably be more likely to be thinking, well, I'm in E flat now, so I'm going to play these things that make sense in E flat. But if I sang it, I had no idea pitch-wise necessarily what I was singing, and so I feel like it made for a more organic composition. BYOB was like that. I definitely sat into a microphone and went, and then I literally transcribed it against a groove that was already there. You know, and it just kind of pieced it out, and then it stretched out from there. I wrote a B section, but that's often the way I do it. Other than that, I might borrow elements from the electronic music I've gone to back a lot, but the Kimmel Center residency was based on me being inspired by specific electronic music tracks of the drum and bass genre. So from there, I might just take the bass line, the drum pattern, or some melodic devices that were used in the song, and then just build a whole different composition out from there. How has Philadelphia nurtured me as a musician? I honestly do not think that I would be a musician still if I didn't live in Philly. That's how powerful it's been here. I moved here on a whim in 2004 because I got such a good first impression of the city, and I haven't looked back a day since. I felt like I was an okay musician, and I had some raw talent, sure, when I came here. But meeting all the local musicians and all the various scenes here, and I've just learned so much from the local musicians, and I continue to. And the opportunities that I've been presented since in my 13 years here now have just, if looking back at a younger version of me, I would never believe the opportunities that I've had, and I don't think I would have even come remotely close to having them had I not moved here. New York, LA, they would never really appeal to me. I kind of wanted a city that felt a bit more approachable and just totally foreign. I'm from the Bay Area. I also spent some time in Seattle because my dad's up there. So a lot of people, it just sounds so ridiculous that I moved over here from the Bay Area, which is one of the most beautiful places in the world. But Philly is just, I love, because it's everything that the Bay Area isn't. I think it's just such a beautiful contrast. But yeah, Philadelphia, the history, the musicians, and very much what's happening right now is so relative. Again, with traveling, going overseas, you hear musicians everywhere we go. If we go to a jam session, they are influenced by the Philadelphia sound, and I don't even know if they necessarily always realize it, but it's true. They're playing a Jill Scott song at a jam session, It's like, that's Philly. I'm sure they know it's Philly, but it's just everywhere you go, the Philadelphia sound, both new and old, is such a huge part of the jazz vocabulary and modern music vocabulary. So I'm very proud to represent this city and to have been able to learn so much here.